In the studio with me is Laura. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be here. Nice to see you again, Naoko.
You're originally from Canada, and I want to find out differences between Canada and New Zealand today. So my first question is, when did you come to New Zealand?
Wow, a very long time ago. 1993, so 27 years ago.
What was your first impression of New Zealand back then?
Well, I got off the flight in Auckland before coming south. So I just walking from the international terminal to the domestic terminal. In Auckland, I noticed how bright and clear the air was. It was bright and clear. And I thought, wow, this is really amazing. The sunlight was really strong. That was my very, very first impression of New Zealand, was bright, clean skies.
Every time I come back to New Zealand, I feel the smell of New Zealand.
That too, yeah.
I don't know what the smell is, but there is something.
It's a freshness, isn't it? It's like the bush. I don't know. It's a freshness of some kind.
It's nice. Did you encounter any culture shock?
Oh, yes. You wouldn't think so, right? Because I come from an English-speaking country. This is an English-speaking country. But
it must be similar to it.
Similar in a way, but also very different. And the food. Another cultural difference, definitely.
But I thought it's sort of the similar thing, like European kind of.
No, I'll give you an example. Here in New Zealand, pies are meat pies, right? They're savory.
Yeah.
In Canada, if you ordered a pie anywhere at a cafe or a restaurant, it would be a fruit pie, a dessert pie.
It's similar to Japan. If I hear a pie, I think it could be an apple pie or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, apple pie, blueberry, peach, cherry, you name it. We have all these fruit pies.
I love New Zealand pies. I like cranberry cheese chicken pie.
Yep.
Bacon and egg pie.
Yes.
Steak and cheese pies.
There's so many of them, aren't there?
What's your favorite?
The kiwi pie? I probably would like the beef red wine pie, gourmet style.
Yeah, I love it. There are different levels of pies.
Yes, yeah there are. Yeah, there's the really gourmet style, and then there's the dairy style.
Yeah, which I don't prefer. Do you have fish and chips?
Not really, although it depends. It does depend what part of Canada. Because on the coast, the east coast, or the west coast of Canada, yes. But where I come from, which is more in the middle, fish and chips isn't very prevalent. There's not a lot of places where you can easily buy fish and chips. It would be more hamburgers and pizzas for a takeaway.
In New Zealand, many people came from England long time ago. There's a big influence from England. What about Canada? Where the people came from?
Good question. Canada, way back when it was first being settled by Europeans, obviously there's a large number of First Nations tribes all across Canada, lots and lots of different tribes. When the Europeans came, it was mainly from England and France.
Well, there shouldn't be much difference then.
Well, the difference is that Canada is also really multicultural, and it welcomed new cultures a bit earlier than other cultures came to New Zealand, I think. So there's a big influence on that they brought to the food in Canada.
New Zealand is quite a new country compared to Canada?
A little bit newer, yes. Mm-hmm.
Was it a big adjustment?
Not so big. Not as big as it might be for somebody who didn't speak English as a first language. Although it's always a bit difficult when you come to a new country because you don't know anybody, you don't have any friends, and you have to settle in. When I first arrived, I was living out in Clarkville. Do you know where Clarkville is?
Where is it? Is it in Canterbury?
Yeah, it's near Kaiapoi, out in the country. and I was living at a fish hatchery.
Why did you choose? I mean, like Canada is a dense population and New Zealand is already a countryside. Why?
Well, that was just temporary, and because it came along with the job that my partner had at the time. And so we started off in rural Canterbury, and that was a big adjustment because I came from a big city. We had come from Montreal, which is a really big city, and to come and settle in a tiny little rural area. But it was really nice. People were so friendly. My children went to the local school and play center, and because we were very different from everyone else there, they really looked after us. They invited us to all of the community events, and I had my first experience of bring a plate.
Oh, the potluck party.
Yeah, but I didn't know. Nobody told me what that meant. They just said, it's bring a plate.
You don't have one in Canada.
We don't say bring a plate. We say potluck dinner. But here in New Zealand, they say bring a plate. And so I had to think about that because I thought there's no way they're saying I should just bring an empty plate, right? That makes no sense. And I thought they must mean you bring food on the plate. So luckily that's what I did, but I really didn't know, and I had to think carefully about that.
New Zealand must have changed a lot since you came here. Can you tell me what was it like back then?
Oh yeah, now it's changed hugely.
Is it 1990s?
Yeah, 1993. For example, coffee. There were not barista coffee makers around.
It is known in New Zealand nowadays.
Yeah,
Anywhere,
and
nice
it's wonderful.
Coffee, nice smells of coffee. Just take away.
I love the coffee here. Love it. But back then, it wasn't like that. Coffee makers.
What to take away?
They had a lot of instant coffee, and they had percolated coffee from the machine. Yeah, I know. It wasn't as nice. So the food, definitely the food has changed. It's
within New Zealand.
Yeah, much more variety of food, different cultures. That's changed in 27 years.
I heard there wasn't much of ethnic restaurant, not even Chinese restaurant.
No, not much at all. Much less traffic on the road, of course.
Oh, safer.
Yeah, fewer people. Yeah, it's just become more crowded, but also in a good way. There are more cultures represented.
Was it difficult to communicate to home in Canada? Because there's no internet. Internet is there, but it's not that popular.
It was the dial-up, wasn't it? The dial-up days.
Yeah. Did you fax?
No, I would call.
Oh.
Yeah, phone calls. And video. I would make a video and then post it.
Record it to the videotape.
Yeah. And post the videotape.
Wow, I've never thought of it. When I was a student, I had a pen pal.
Pen pal, yeah.
Yeah. In England, she posted me a videotape, but I couldn't play it.
Oh, yeah,
so
different
I couldn't
format.
Play. Oh, but you could do it between Canada and New Zealand. Oh.
Actually, that's a good point. I think we had to change the setting on our machine.
Oh, so it's not as simple.
Not as simple.
I'm just wondering, how long does it take to fly from New Zealand to Canada?
Too long. It's so long. Oh my gosh.
No direct flight?
No, there is a direct flight from Auckland to Vancouver on the west coast of Canada. And that's about 12 to 13 hours. So my family and where I come from is on the other side. And so that's another 6 to 7 hours flight.
Within the country?
Yeah. So if you go from Christchurch to Auckland, Auckland to Vancouver, Vancouver to Ottawa, which is where my family live, and where I go to visit, that would be about 20, 22, 23 hours.
Oh no, then it takes about 2 days, I guess?
Oh, not that long, but it would be, about 30 hours probably in total with all of the airport waiting times.
Must be expensive to do so?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
You've got to find the specials.
I thought Japan is too far away, but I don't think that's the case anymore. We are lucky compared to Canada.
How far is it?
About 10, 11 hours, just direct
Okay.
flight to Tokyo from Auckland. So not too bad, I guess.
It's long enough, though, isn't it? That long sitting in a plane.
When I went to Japan with Liam, he was only 10 months old, and it was exhausting.
That would be. Mm-hmm.
When you're visiting Canada for holiday, do you miss any Kiwi food? You are already a Kiwi, right?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh,
I
fish
guess.
and chips is waiting for me.
Yeah, fish and chips, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
really?
fish and chips, yeah. And of course, my own garden, because I have a garden here. So that's really
Somebody needs
really
to
nice.
water.
Yeah. I try to go back to Canada once a year to visit my family, but not this year.
Exactly the same here. In my mind, life in Canada is the faster paced, higher pressure way of life.
In the big cities, maybe. In the country, it's the complete opposite. It's very slow. Where I live in Canada now, well, I live here, but when I go back, and where my family lives in Canada, it's on an island in a lake. And it's about as slow a pace of life as you can get.
Is it like Lake Wanaka or Taupo?
No, it's one of the Great Lakes of
Huge one.
Yeah. It's called Lake Ontario, and I don't even know how big it is, but it's massive. It looks you can be on one side of the lake and you can't see to the other side.
Wow.
It's so far away. And the other side of the lake is the United States.
So in the summertime, people just come here for holiday.
On this island?
Yeah.
There are 200 permanent residents all year round, but then in the summer, another 200 will come and have holiday homes there.
Oh.
It doubles the population.
It is more like Stewart Island to New Zealand.
A little bit.
It must be a peaceful place.
It is, yeah. Very slow. Not so nice in the winter.
Is it really cold? Extreme?
Yeah, it's so cold in the wintertime. Temperatures will go down to, minus 15, minus 20 in
Minus
the
20?
middle of winter.
Can you get out of the house?
You can, but you have to dress up really warm.
Like you need to cover the face?
You need a scarf to protect your face. You don't have to cover it completely. The hairs in your nose will freeze.
I never...
And your teeth. You can feel it in your teeth. And your eyelashes. Oh, yeah.
Never had that experience in my life.
No.
Entire life.
No. Well, go to Canada in the winter and you'll get that experience.
Is it painful?
It stings a little bit if it's too cold.
Oh, your face stinks in Canada.
Stings, not stinks. Sting.
I know. So it can be really cold in Canada, but Canadian cities are well set up for it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Some of the cities actually have underground tunnels that link up different parts of the city. And all of the shopping malls, of course, are heated. And the homes are really well insulated. And they have central heating.
Oh.
So they're very warm.
As long as you're inside the house, you don't have much of a problem.
No, but also Canadians really enjoyed being outside in the winter. They like to do Canadian winter sports like snowshoeing and skiing, skating, tobogganing.
Hey, that sounds so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. What about Japan? I mean, it gets cold in winter in Japan. I've seen pictures of snow.
It depends on where you're about. North part of Japan is called Hokkaido. I used to live there for a while. The roof of the house is very steep. Mm-hmm. So you don't get too much snow on
Built
the top.
up on the house,
So
yeah.
it's very slippery. Snow goes down. But if you live in Tokyo, you hardly get snow. The winter temperature is similar to what we have in Christchurch. Is it true that people are more polite than really friendly compared to New Zealand?
Gosh, that's a hard question for a Canadian to answer, I think. I actually found the opposite. I found that when I came to New Zealand, people were super polite and friendly, but not that easy to really get to know well.
Oh, that is interesting. Of course, it depends on the person.
Absolutely.
Have you ever seen a wild bear in Canada?
Ooh, okay. Yes, I have. several times.
More than once?
More than once. Well, I like to go hiking and camping. And in Canada, it's very different to camping in New Zealand, because in Canada, of course, we have bears and cougars if you're out west, and lots of animals, wildlife. And you have to be very careful about your food because they have a super sense of smell. So if you're camping in the forest in Canada, you've got to string your food up between two trees, because if it's on the ground near your tent, the bears are going to smell it and they're going to come.
Oh, no.
So I went camping with my partner many, many, many years ago, and we did everything right. We strung the food between the two trees, but that night I could hear a loud crunching noise outside the tent.
It's like a movie.
And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? We don't have any food in here. What's happening? So we both quickly looked through our bags, and I had a tube of toothpaste. Now, toothpaste can be sweet, right? It can be kind of sweet.
Oh.
So I took my tube of toothpaste and I threw it out of the tent as far as I could. And I didn't hear the bear anymore. So that's one experience. The other experience, we were on a different camping trip, but also in the forest by a lake. And we were camped out on the beach. And we had a little fire going. And I saw a black bear at the far end of the beach.
Oh, no.
But it got in the water and it swam right across in front of us.
Bear can swim?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, and catch the fish?
Yes. Yeah. So it wasn't in the deep water, but it was just along near the shore.
It's quite dangerous to go trekking
Well,
then.
not necessarily. Black bears, which are common where I come from in the central part of Canada, are not so dangerous unless you make them angry or you disturb their cubs. But grizzly bears and polar bears are a different story.
Do you see polar bear as
No,
well?
I have never seen a polar bear. I've been up in the northern part of Canada, but I've never seen a polar bear. And a grizzly bear, I've never seen one, but I have seen black bears.
Do you know what should I do if I see a bear? Is it okay to shout help? Or pretend to be a bear?
It's actually really complicated, believe it or not.
Complicated?
One time I went to visit a friend of mine who lives in the Yukon Territory, which is in the northern part of Canada, in the Arctic part. And that's where there are some grizzly bears, which are more dangerous. We went walking in a park, just a day walk, not camping, walking in a park. And before we left the office, they gave us this little booklet, which was about 1 centimeter thick, about how to deal with bears.
Oh, it's not that simple.
No, it had all these photographs of bears. If a bear is only curious, then you act a certain way. I think if you make yourself look big, you raise your arms and make yourself look big, then the bear will back away. But if the bear has a different expression on its face...
I don't want to make a mistake on my...
I know! And if it's aggressive and if it's hunting you, then it gets a different expression on its face, and you don't do that, and you don't run, because it will chase you and it will get you. They say if a bear is about to attack you, to go on your stomach and put your arms over your head to try and protect, the important parts of your body. But when I read this book, I thought, how am I supposed to know what expression the bear has?
Because
is it going to be curious or is it going to be angry? I can't tell.
I will panic totally and go, ah! Can I
Supposed to
just
do.
call 111?
No. But people who go hiking in bear country, they have bear spray. They have little canisters. It's like a pepper spray.
Oh.
But I wouldn't want to get that close to a bear to put pepper spray in his face.
Before you spray anything, the bear can get you.
But honestly, most bears by far are not going to be attacking people. That's very rare.
Sometimes bear comes to town.
Yeah, you do hear about that every now and then. They're attracted to food, and of course, with climate change, polar bears are coming further south because it's harder for them to get their food. So yeah, with habitat destruction and climate change, the barrier between humans and bears is getting closer now, I think.
In Canada, people are feeling okay to live with bears or thinking like bear is like a teddy bear.
No. Oh, no. No,
Oh,
bears
they're
need
cute
to stay in the
bears.
wild. No.
You don't want to live with bear.
No, they're more used to having wildlife around, but I don't think bears and humans can live together.
I learned a lot. I didn't expect this conversation.
Neither did I.
Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Oh, well, thank you for helping me take a trip down memory lane back to my home country.
Hope you can come back to the show sometime later.
Thank you, I will.